Well, oh, I can't see myself on the monitor. I'm sorry. Well, good morning. They say I'm on. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you had a lovely weekend. But back to business this Monday. In fact, it was a long weekend, of course, because of labor, but a lot of people just treated it as an extended sort of a resting period. Now, back to business and back to politics, because on the 29th, we shall be swearing in a new administration. But there's so much more to be done as soon as that administration is in. The National Assembly, and indeed the state houses of assembly all over the country, the key parts of the whole democratic process. Now, their leadership is not yet known. They have this system in the houses of assembly where the speaker will emerge, or in the case of the National Assembly, in addition to the speaker, there will also be the emergence of a Senate president who really is, what do they say, primus inter pares, first among equals. They all arrive, but then decide who shall be heading up their particular house. Now, as you know, if you've been following the news, already there's been jostling for key positions in the National Assembly. Now, how should these how should these officers, these principal officers, how should they emerge? Straightforward, without any equivocation, they decide who is getting what, who is heading up what within the National Assembly. But often their parties, play a crucial role. We've seen in the last assembly, the outgoing one, it hasn't become, in the outgoing one, where Speaker Tambuwal, for instance, was not exactly the choice of his party. Nevertheless, because of the power inherent in the legislators themselves, they were able to make him the speaker. And so that kind of a thing will go on, all over the place. And we want to ask this morning, to what extent is it one in order? And can the system be bucked? Should it be bucked? Or is the whole thing a whole mixture of different aspects of the same democratic process? Okay, I've got three gentlemen this morning. All of them are sort of stakeholders, and they quite frankly, they are concerned parties in this kind of a conversation. Let me start with a friend of ours that he sort of disappeared for a while, but I'll tell you, he's back. Barrister Innocent Egwim. He is actually, in addition to being our own Barrister Egwim, we shall soon be calling honorable, because he's an honorable elect. Since the last time you saw him, he's gone to the field, won an election, and indeed he is a House of Imo State House of Assembly man-elect.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the electoral victory. Thank you for coming on the program. It used to be your place until you had to go off and take care of business. Okay, Tony Ashamu, he's a politician as well as an entrepreneur. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Honorable Eseme Eyibo. Honorable Eyibo is also an experienced politician. He was in the National Assembly House of Reps in the 6th Senate. That's the one before this. Am I correct?
Yeah. I also served briefly in the current one, though.
And also, indeed, you were spokesman of the...
I was the spokesman of the House.
Of the House at that time. Honorable Eseme Eyibo, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Very kindly.
Now, let me start from you, because you've been in there, you've seen it, and probably even have done that, been there. Give me your thoughts on the whole idea of, you're right, when you were there as an assembly, as a legislator, as a representative, you knew what your rights were, you knew what the book said, but it wasn't about you guys in there alone, was it? Clearly you had to be looking beyond the confines of the National Assembly to get direction.
Yeah, first and foremost, we have to lay a foundation for the very essence of the legislature, as in the National Assembly now. Section 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, has clearly stated that the legislative powers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be vested in a National Assembly consisting of a Senate and House of Representatives. And Section 60 of that Constitution empowers the House of Reps and the Senate to put together its own rule for the purposes of, regulating its affairs and its conduct.
Okay.
So, now, the presence of the legislature is what is making it democracy, because you have the executive and the judiciary during a dictatorship, military government. So legislature is very fundamental in the issue of democracy. To that extent, I'm laying a foundation that the critical element in creating a sovereignty which belongs to the people belies in the legislature. So it's very critical. But unfortunately, that has oftentimes been undermined by inability of political players and the political parties to be able to allow the interplay of what is called politics and governance. The moment as a member of PDP, for example, elected into the House and admitted on oath, I am representing those who voted for me and those who voted against me. PDP, APC, APGA, or Colonel. That is at governance level now. But unfortunately, these political players would not allow that to come true. Okay. So it's politics all the way. So we have problem of not differentiating between politics and governance. Then fundamentally, and more importantly, maybe we're discussing the time ahead, is the issue of the leadership recruitment process.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In other words, the caliber and quality of assemblymen and women.
Not necessarily assemblymen and women. It's a culture in this country.
No, I'm saying that's what you're talking about.
Yes. Having the right people.
Yes, having the right.
Wrong people in right places.
Okay. Yeah. Tony, what are your thoughts on this matter? Because as we've just heard from Honorable Eseme there, the assembly people themselves have the rights to come up with the guidelines, rules, regulations that govern how they go about their business. Which is constitutionally defined again. What are your thoughts on allowing interference or not?
So let me, my personal opinion to that is, I mean, the Legislative House is really the highest place of wisdom as far as creating laws for the country. They create a constitution, so they should be allowed to govern themselves. However, I mean, they belong to a party. So, and I think this really anchors around internal democracies within our parties. We've seen the much strides we have made with this party system in Nigeria. Now we have two strong parties, which is a great thing. But I think what should happen is, in external democracies, I mean, around the globe, you have to be able to bring out the new members and new brains, and your internal democracy should be able to highlight even the dark points, people that even are not supposed to be seen. That's why you have primaries. That's why you have debate. That's why you have the opportunity for people to compete. So in the House, they should be able to pick whoever they want in different roles, but ultimately they should still align with the party lines, because that is a structure that got them there in the first place.
Well, that last sentence of yours is interesting. It sort of qualified everything that went before then. Say, at the end of the day, they should align with their party, seeing as they're not independents. They didn't arrive on their own lonesome. Okay. How do you see it, Innocent? Because you are going in there. So it'll be interesting to say to know what your thoughts are on this particular. You'll be going to the Imo State House of Assembly.
I think the issue here is the issue of Charter of Equity. I mean, like he said, as a card-carrying member of APC, in Imo State, the governor comes from Idato South, I come from Idato North. So it would be stupid of me, of anybody of my sort, to think of being the Speaker of the House. Automatically, convention is not written anywhere. It has shifted to Okigwe. Okigwe will produce the Speaker, while the Olu or we produce the deputy. So these are conventions. It's not written anywhere. However, like he said, there's party, the supremacy of party. Party determines whether we like it or not, who becomes the speaker. Look at what is happening in Enugu today. So then we must get somebody that is loyal to the number one man, who is the governor. Somebody that is loyal to the, president. So to me, party mechanism, internal party mechanism comes to play. We might not see, it might not be written anywhere. That's why I totally differ from somebody saying maybe Section 60, because Section 60 doesn't override the ground norm of the Constitution, which is a ground norm that everybody has freedom of association. You must, as a member of the House, we can align to say, okay, Mr. Yori seems to be sharp. Let him be our speaker. However, it has to go back to the party because I mean we don't have independent.
That is if you're going to be nice about it.
If you're
going to be nice about it,
of course,
then that's what to.
Because the issue,
when you say it has to go back to the party.
I'm very sorry to say this one. One of the downfall of PDP is because they boggled the Tambowa speakership. Because Tambowa, the party had wanted, but they didn't want Tambowa to becoming a party of the speaker of National Assembly. So to me, initially, I have an issue here. If any party, maybe APC, PDP, at this point, if they cannot get it right, it is not good. So I appeal that whoever becomes the speakership must be in tandem with the policies of the party.
Yeah, I'm concerned, and let me take my concern over to Honorable Eseme. When he said whoever is going to emerge as the speaker, you know, care should be taken that he should be loyal to the governor or that kind of a thing. I'm worried. I'm worried about that particular area.
Sorry. First, let me.
To the party.
It should be okay. Loyal to the party leadership.
Even the party, APC is more powerful than Buhari, so Buhari must be loyal to the party.
Okay.
These are the Nigerian people.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Let me first and foremost do this observation. My name is Honorable Eseme Eyubo. At least it will help my brother because I heard him saying that when somebody said.
Okay, sorry, I'm very sorry.
It's okay. So now, what I want to say now is that when you talk about conventions and common sense, it's not ruled out. But the issue is that you are the Speaker of the House of Reps or the President of the Senate and not of a political party. Because the legislature is populated by people representing the various political parties that won the election. That point must be made. And what are the responsibilities of the legislature? There are three, constitutionally. The issue of legislation, the issue of appropriation, and the issue of oversight. That does not in any way encourage the issue of legislative activism. You don't turn the legislature as if you are playing Student Union politics, you know. But in recruiting the leadership of a legislature, you must be able to first and foremost look at the primary purpose of the legislature. Because the first among equals, in this case, must be somebody who is defined by the mold which the members have set out for themselves. Because you are going to lead a legislature and not a political party. Well, I have never been a legislature at the state. When my learned friend was talking about you have to be loyal to the governor, you have to be loyal to the president and all that. We should not also...
He did clarify that. He meant the party.
Yes.
The political party that sponsored you.
Yes, you have to be loyal to it. And in the state, you have to also be loyal to the governor. What I am saying there is this. The essence of the theory, if not in practice, of separation of powers, why you have the legislature, the executive, and the what is it again? The judiciary.
Yes,
judiciary. In essence, is to create the balance so that you'll be able to check one another. But when you now begin to talk about the issue of being loyal to this, being loyal to that, and all that up in issue,
this is where it begins to wobble a bit.
That's where you begin. That's where you begin to have a tripod with a deceased legs. Because when once any of the legs in the tripod is deceased, there's no way there will be a balance. So I stand to be corrected.
And you're making the distinction between what the textbook says, that's on the one hand, that's on the one hand, and being pragmatic. You're on the floor of the House, and you have all these legislators.
Let me give you an example.
Sure.
I have been a spokesman of the House, and I've headed in that was time my brief period in this tenure here. I was the chairman of the House Committee on Donor Agencies, and I collaborated and engaged constructively a lot of international agencies and all that. So I know what global best practice is all about. We Nigeria is not in the exclusion. And so these things I'm talking about from the standpoint of experience and not from the standpoint, in fact, it's empirical. It's not theory. Because, for example, look at the issue of appropriation. Look at the issue of appropriation. The executive will tell you this. The Fiscal Responsibility Act made a provision for certain agencies of government to remit its IGR to the federation account in accordance with the Constitution. But you still have agencies, those agencies are stipulated and as mentioned in that Fiscal Responsibility Act, neglecting to do that, violating the Constitution.
And they can get away with it.
And by the time you now tell me about the issue of cooperation and you know, being loyal to party and all that, sovereignty belongs to the people. Sovereignty belongs to the people. And by our Constitution, the Federal Republic of Nigeria is expected to be a state under the principle of democracy and social justice.
Thank you very much, sir. Without prejudice to that, Mr. Shamu, sovereignty does indeed belong to the people. But then again, I have to say that, yeah, that's the ideal. That is what it should be, and that is what we are aspiring to. Indeed, there are some that will say that, what do you mean? That is what we are running. Okay. if people want to go that way, that is what we're running. But the practicality of it is that the sponsor, your sponsor, I'm talking now about your party, they are not going to want you to become a quote-unquote loose cannon. Yet, so you're now pulled in two directions. One, as has been observed here, you are a member, you are a senator or a representative or an assemblyman of your area that will include all other people. But at the same time, you know, you still have this party line. So you're going to have to be balancing it. And PDP, as has been observed here, has come out the worse for wear at the hands of its own assemblymen. And is that something that you think should or can be checked?
I believe, I think, yeah, as a politician, I think you have different constituents you have to make sure you satisfy. Unless, like, you cannot become an honorable House of Assembly or House of Rep or Senator or even a governor without going through the party line. We don't have the independent structure in Nigeria yet. And if, be that as it may, what we're talking about here is, democracy is just simply majority carries the vote. And it just depends on the level of majority. The Senate is different. It has to be a certain percentage, which is even much more complex, as opposed to normal democracies, whoever has a majority vote. So what we're saying here is very simple. The worst thing that can happen, and I like that my honorable here talked about the separation of powers, which is the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. You can't have a lame duck president or executive, and they can't govern. So it's still important for the executive, it may be the president, the governor, to make sure that he has his house in order so he can pass laws that can help him execute his policies. Very important. So you can say that now the governor or the president should look at the other side when it comes to the legislature, because that's the most important places where laws are created. So the first thing before you even take the party ticket, you have to vow and actually read the oaths of the party and say that your party is supreme. Okay, because you do have a choice at that point to either go to any party to represent your people. So even if you're winning on the platform of a party, you still, and I think the internal democracy, even in the
legislators have been known to do what they call vote their conscience,
which is good. They should do that. And as a matter of fact, I think the problem here that we're not really, the really big elephant is the fact that the internal democracies of these parties, and Nigeria, I think it's a good time to be here because we've made a lot of progress, and we still have a long way to go. If you look, and this is why APC, for example, make sure that there are primaries in every single localities. At least that's never been done before. And the problem with someone just saying and thinking that, and they're airing this information from the grassroots from few people, is that they think they know it all. And in all fairness to them, and they make the best decision for the party and for the country based on the limited knowledge. But when you're doing primaries, you expose the process to more grassroots people, and that's very important. So even
though there is intense politicking going on, even at that level too.
Absolutely. But it's important that you connect the grassroots to what you're doing. You can't be in a room and have this high grandstanding gesture with the politics. If you make the grassroots people happy, then it solves the problem. And it's the same thing in the House of Assembly, or in the State House of Assembly or the Senate. If you make sure that you're close to your legislators, you as the leadership of the party, and even in other countries of the world, you have a majority whip. You have a minority whip. What those people do, they whip votes.
maintain discipline.
They vote and they make sure that everybody is going in the same.
You have a chief whip, you know, and, all these. What these political, their political function is really to, as it were, just make sure that everybody is towing the line as previously agreed. So
That's how important that is. So it's important that the executive, whoever is there, either the president of the government, they need to be able to govern. And that's what makes the word lame duck. Once you have a lame duck president, they can't do nothing because every bill they want to pass is just going to stall. So it's important that, yes, you have to vote your conscience. And it's important that you have to, and your conscience most of the time will should towards your party line because you should be veering towards one ideology. Either be it you are for the poor or you are for the rich or you are for healthcare, you are for social safety nets or not. And that's where I want to see Nigerian political parties move towards ideological differences between these parties so people know what they're signing up for.
Maybe, Innocent, there's a sense in which all these officers, well, talking about the National Assembly, which I think is the most visible, the other ones are also important, but people have begun to hear of certain names thanks to the newspapers and speculation that in the Senate, this man is looking good, that one is looking good, and so that one, and all sorts of permutations. You've seen it. You've seen all the permutations. You yourself gave me an indication of that, where you were saying that you yourself, being from Olu,
from the same zone with
that it's very unlikely that
it's not. My mind is not going there. So what we are saying here, if he dies, he actually propagated the separation of power and the rule of law. These people have a very good mindset, not Nigerian. When we are saying something, we should look at practicable things. Nigeria is a party or it's a country where what we say today is an uncertainty-filled nation. So to me, when I was campaigning, the people, are you sure you are going to be loyal to the governor? Because if you are not loyal to the governor, to the president, or to the party, the promises you made, because I'm not an executive, I don't sign bills.
Sorry, where did that question come from?
It comes from the electorate. They want to be sure.
They want to be sure
that you be loyal to the governor. So that
you found this on the campaign trail.
Yes, so that
people wanted to know that.
Look, is accrued to the constituency.
That Barrister Innocent, you want to go there now? Are you sure you are loyal to our governor?
Yes, because I left my comfort zone in Lagos, decided to choose APC. In Igbo land to contest an election because I love the manifestos of APC. Okay. There are some things APC are putting on the table, and these are the things I have to work towards so that at the end of the day that I have, with the special grace of Almighty God, as member-elect, I must be loyal to the governor. Okay. I must be loyal to APC as a party so that whatever I promise to the electoral people, so that if I have a higher ambition, I'll be able to achieve it.
But I said this earlier, but you said you wanted to correct and clarify. And he said, no, that you were not talking about loyalty to the governor.
You see, the governor, in quote, is an object.
Okay, you're talking about the administration.
The administration, which is manifestos of the party, which is APC in Igbo State.
Okay.
So to me, whatever is my own ambition should be secondary. Most importantly, I have to be loyal to the party, and especially now, the politicking of who becomes Senate, who becomes Speaker, is what is going on now. In fact, it's even more hot than the real election.
From what you say, Innocent, again, let me bring this across to SMA. This makes governors tremendously powerful, quite frankly.
Well, I think
they can decide whether you're going to go.
Innocent is lending credence to a school of thought that defines a democracy as the government of the monarchs, for the monarchs, by the monarchs. Because the governors have not had that experience anyway, are now being seen to be the operators.
When you were in the House of Reps, weren't you there at the pleasure of your governor?
I'll tell you that. I'm a product of an electoral process. And I have paid my dues, though.
Yes.
I've paid my dues.
But your electoral aspirations must have been endorsed by your governor.
I'm explaining to you. I'm saying even then, being a product of electoral process, I paid my dues. That's why I'm telling you that I stayed briefly in my second term. Okay? But that is not the issue. The issue I'm trying to now put across clearly is this. Once there is no how, the loyalty to the governor of or the president would not be in conflict with the other constitutional responsibility of the legislature. Definitely, it is not the best of time between the executive and the legislature. You know that too well. I am not saying that the political party that is in the majority, like APC now, should not produce a speaker. That's not what I'm saying. Like Tambuwal's case. Tambuwal was a PDP man, but the party said, look, it has to be this person. And we said, no, we know all the parties. We know all the persons who are involved. Because we are talking about who is going to manage the House. The issue of the legislature and this leadership thing we are talking about, my brother was talking about Nigeria has not gotten there and all that. I don't know where we are going to get there. Because the gamut of these things we are talking about revolves around the issue of development as a process. It's like HIV. If HIV infects you, I am affected. That's how it is. So if we allow the institutions to suffer, to be degraded, the institutions, it would definitely affect our national leadership. So I expect that our individual integrity should be able to, no matter what price we are paying, should be able to throw up institutional integrity, so that will create the nexus between national leadership and what our collective urges and aspirations are. And okay,
interesting. A very egalitarian position, but go on, Tony.
So what I want to say, I think we're almost saying the same thing in different versions. My honorable here said that we should, I mean, like, I think it's in a very special case in the East, having been an APC candidate, and he won the election. And of course, you have an APC governor in the midst of very contentious areas. Let's get one thing straight. In a democracy, okay, if you become the president or governor of a state, what people are voting for is your ideas and vision for your vision for the state or for the country. That gets altered if you lose your willpower to govern. And it's important that in the House, in this legislative arms, that the governor or the president has control. How that comes through, and we're making the suggestion that the governor should make effort, or the president should make effort to actually get closer to the electorate, which are the people, the active participant, and know really what their mind is. There's no reason why some few people will want one person and majority of the active players don't want the person. They should try to find out why and try to make sure they align the two interests. So
this is because when you people talk about when I say you people, I'm talking about commentators generally. When you talk about democracy, internal democracy, you just hit on something there. The people of a certain area might want somebody, but then it might well be that that's not the way the leadership is thinking. The leadership actually wants someone else for whatever reason. Now, whether they can sit down and iron it out or just say, that's it. Which, by the way, what is your own in this whole matter anyway? That kind of a thing.
And that's why we have, that's why we have primaries. And that's why people go to the ballot box and vote. But ultimately, one critical issue of zoning, that it's really not a written rule. But is it necessary? Because
it's a convention that has evolved along the way.
And is it good or bad? It's a different. I think in some cases it's very good, because you can be the president of Nigeria and you think you understand what's going on in his local government. You don't, because democracy should be fair. And sometimes when you do...
I beg your pardon for interrupting you. Sure. Let me just bring Shegun in, who has been holding on, and then I'll come back so you can finish that idea. Good morning, Shegun.
Good morning, Yori. Yes, former honorable from House of Prayer.
Yes, Honorable Eseme.
Yes, I believe we don't agree with him at all.
You don't agree with him at all?
Yes.
Let's hear why.
Yes. You see, one thing is that you cannot separate the party from the people representing the party. Now, a party has a manifesto, and this manifesto must be consolidated. Who is going to help the party to achieve all they want? When the representative in the House is going the other way, and the party is going the other way. One thing is that anything you are doing in that house, you must put the interest of your party first. Party is supreme. For example, during the election, your party members, they were the ones that put you in the first place. So getting there, and that is why you have the majority leader in the House, is to consolidate them together what your party wants. That does not mean you should not put Nigeria first.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, party supremacy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I need to come to you. I said I'd come back to Tony, but this has taken it somewhere else. Party supremacy.
Yeah, party supremacy. There's no two. It doesn't have any alternative. That's my. I mean, my own view and my school of thought here, or whatever is my view. I still stand on my view is that the party supremacy and the numerator of a state, who is the governor. Now that people, I mean, leadership, because what we are discussing here, the discourse here is leadership of the House.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we are discussing here. So the governor or the party has a role to play. Because you can't just get someone who is suffering from poverty of the mind. You make him the Speaker of the House, the other opposing party gives him 20 billion, and he makes the government of the day ungovernable.
Surely no such person like that can get elected.
No such
person like that can possibly get elected.
We have the experience of Nigerians, even in my own state. In my own state, where people, the person that was, my own local government was not loyal to the governor. And it affected the constituency. Nothing happened. That was why people say, hey, you are Lagos, have your profile, come back home and contest. And I came back home. I got back home and I contested and I was elected. Okay. Because I am loyal to the governor. Okay. I've never met the governor, but I feel that I'll be loyal to the governor so that I can be able to get
to his ideas, what he stands for politically.
It's an APC. So nobody can act in isolation. Nobody can say party.
Okay. Let me. I know that SMA, you wanted to come in on this, but let me quickly take Hassan, who has called in from Lekki, and then we'll come back to you. Good morning, Hassan.
Mr. Yori, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I would like to comment about this issue of jostling for position or class struggle so far. You see, with regard to the political postulation of Nigeria, whether we like it or not, APC is the ruling party. And the APC has the majority both in House of Representatives and the Senate. There is no way you can divorce the supremacy of power from power equation in the National Assembly. But what I'm seeing now is that people are much more concerned about their myopic interest than the interest of the country. Based on what I'm seeing now playing itself out on the table, everybody now is now coming out. Everybody wanted to be a speaker. Everybody wanted to be a Senate president. Everybody wanted to be a majority. There was this and that. We should discuss that. We should think about the country, because if care is not taken, this will destroy the fabric that banded us together in APC. And we will be dancing to the script of PDP. And this one will create problem for General Muhammad Buhari. We all voted for Buhari and we want him to work. And we believe in him. That is why we put him there. We should not allow our selfish interest to supersede the service to the nation.
All right then.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hassan, calling in from Lekki. Honorable SMA, you wanted to come in there.
Well, I want to start. I want to start first from appreciating what Honorable Hassan is saying, without conceding, that the issue of the supremacy of the party and, of course, the issue of loyalty like my brother, my learned friend, Honorable Innocent.
Honorable to be. Honorable
no,
elect.
Well,
Honorable elect Innocent.
No, with the, with the mandate already. It's just a formalization. It's just a formalization issue. And my brother, Tony Ashamu,
yes.
You know, quite fantastic discussion and all that. But you see, when you want to look at this, the fulcrum of this discussion is taking us back to the origin of leadership recruitment process. How do we recruit our leaders? In other climes, you see situations where people, look at Obama, for example. We would say we were not like America. Look at Obama, for example. It's
yes.
a product of leadership nursery. Our society should now begin to see a situation where we create leadership nurseries, so that the internal democracies of the political party, the godfathers and whoever they are, should now be able to look at these various nurseries at their respective constituencies and throw up leaders. And when we now begin to have, you know, a congregation of these people coming from various backgrounds, you know, we will not have this problem we are having today.
Indeed.
And mind you, as we speak now.
Kingsley, I'll be right with you.
As we speak now, since 1970, at the end of the war, till death, the children who were born that time are today constituting the highest percentage of our population. They have never seen role models. They grew up into corruption, they saw corruption, they live with corruption, and it is high time now we now begin to use these nurseries to begin to create heroes among these people who are desirous. This change blowing now is not a change as a slogan, it's a change as a mantra. And we owe this responsibility to these young fellows.
Kingsley, thank you very much for holding on. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Kingsley.
Please, I'm very happy to be part of this program. And I want to thank TVC for what you've been doing. In fact, the media house in Nigeria through this meeting.
Thank you.
Now, my contribution one, I wish that Nigeria should learn this lesson through from the process where we are passing through now. If we get leaders...
Kingsley, can you turn down the volume of your TV set, please?
Please, let me do that. Thank you.
He wanted to hear himself.
Okay, thank you. Can you get me?
You better now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the people we are electing into these offices, who knew them before now? What have they done in their grassroots before they come up to the state of to the point of ruling the state or even the national?
Public service.
Yeah, public service. That's the problem we have. Jostling in about the position in the General Assembly now, that's National Assembly now, is as a result of people who do not know the reason why they have gone to represent their state. So that is number one. Number two, let us mark this. Every political party has their own manifesto. And in various times, we've discovered that persons vowing for offices go there not just because of the manifesto, even as they claim, that some of them do not even know the real manifesto of the parties. So when it happens this way, the people will go up there. Eventually, if they happen to be the speaker or any other position in the House, they will not contribute meaningfully.
Okay.
But I pray finally that God will help APC to say all their, or to put into action all their promised Nigerians that they will do.
Okay. All right, Kingsley, I thank you very, very much for your call, and thanks once again for holding on all that while. Tony, you wanted to come on. Now, there's also the legislators, they've complicated matters a bit by, around the world, not just here, having what they call ranking legislators. So factor that in. As I spoke at the beginning about, whoever emerges being prime minister inter pares, but maybe that's something of an academic notion, because these people will come, the principal leaders are going to come from among the ranking senators, ranking representatives, ranking assemblymen. There's nothing you can do about that. It's about seniority.
I think with this issue and with the gentlemen that contributed to this program, I'm glad that, Nigerian, we are reaching this level of consciousness of talking about issues like this. Ultimately, I think my honorable here talked about the recruitment process of politicians.
Yes.
Obama would never have seen the light of day if being placed with the type of recruitment process we have in Nigeria. That's right. Let's be fair, because the way...
Obama went and started from back in the day.
the way let's forgive all his state legislative experience. The presidency, it was nobody knew Obama. When Obama, the first time he campaigned in Iowa, it was him and just one person, whereby everybody else is a state secretary of state, is the secretary of defense, is a senator. They have all the gamuts of this institutional resources around them. Obama didn't. But the point we're making is this.
I beg your pardon. Keep your thought. This sort of response to Kingsley saying, who knew these people before they showed up?
Key, and let me finish that point. And this is what we're saying. And what was the differentiator? Obama opened his mouth. All his life history and lessons that he had to give Americans, and he spoke. And all of a sudden, the media played a major role. You guys played a major role, gave him the coverage, and he was able to share his ideas. All of a sudden, he has this mammoth following. And the primary processes should be able to elucidate that, not hide away the germs. And because look at what just happened in this election. People voted for the People's General, for Major General Buhari. Tremendously. It was beyond just even the party. It was him that sold the party to some parts of the country that the party never existed. And that is important going forward. So I think it's critical that the party leadership itself, there's a lesson to learn here, that they need to look at these processes and make sure the best man, at least the best man out of the situation emerges. And that does not throw away the credence to zoning and making sure there's fairness around this place.
It's a delicate balancing act. Now, Yakub, are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, Yakub, 1,000 apologies. Please go ahead.
I understand. No problem, sir. Let me just go straight to the point. Good morning to the new honorary in the house. I think it's one of us in this CCC struggle. And then just try to do what you are elected to do there. I'm not saying that. You see, Chief Yori, this is a very serious time for APC. Very, very serious time. And then, if they fail to get it right, it is going to be a very, very big problem for them. And then I pray they should get it right. Why am I saying that? You know why PDP totally lost out in this election? They have lost out the day they lost Tambua to opposition party in the House of Assembly. Because that very particular day, I watched the voting live. Did you know that Tambua decided to enter that house? Because he knows what is going to happen. They may be able to kidnap Tambua that very particular day in order to prevent him not to be elected. But he makes his way to that house, and then the man got elected. And then since the day that Tambua got elected in that house, it has have a support, both opposition party and the ruling party there. Not now. But now, the ruling party now, which is APC, if I should have my way, in the Senate, I prefer one candidate. That candidate, even though he's not going to be elected as a Senate president, it is Dino Melaye. Why am I saying that? If you look at what Dino Melaye has been saying today now, it has been said that all these allowances that make sure that he's going to push it up, that all these allowances will be stopped. If they can be able to do that, it's not going to be a benefit for ordinary citizens of this country.
Okay, Yakub.
Dino Melaye is my candidate. God bless you all.
All right then. So Dino Melaye has a campaign manager outside here, and Dino Malaye's manifesto is well known. The legislature, crucial indeed, indispensable as it is costing us an arm and a leg, and we don't need to be paying those guys all that kind of money. Only people that have a job should go in there. You can't go in there because you're hungry and you're looking for something to do. It's your turn now, honorable elect. Yeah. Do you first of all agree with Dino Malaye's manifesto that one of the first things I'm going to do is find a way to reduce all these ridiculous allowances, the word ridiculous coming from the people, of course?
Well, the allowances will be determined by the oil price, and I believe Buhari in his own wisdom should look upon that, or the house.
That Buhari way you talk, the story is out there that when he was before, they said he called the finance people and said, this salary that you people are giving me is too much. Go and cut it down. Can
I correct something before my brother? So
sure.
Let me guide us. These things, the issue of salaries and allowances are purely statutorily regulated. There is revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission.
Which we are constantly being referred to.
Excuse me, there is Salary and Wages Commission. What we should be talking about here is that nobody should earn a dime. Nobody should earn a dime beyond what is being prescribed. And if there is anything prescribed, that has to go through the process. That has to go through the process.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So what I'm saying, thank you. What I'm my senior colleague, you are my senior, so you have every right to cross my line in this country.
No, I was only requesting.
So what I'm saying here is, you see, APC as a party has a mechanism to dig into all the whole members' profile. So they should allow. People shouldn't be unnecessarily agitated about APC having problem. We are not having problem. We are going to give Nigerians the best Senate President and the best House of Rep Speaker.
Along with your other colleagues.
Along with other colleagues. It's ongoing now. It's a disciplined party. So that's why we say APC is not like the other party who are just, they go through primaries that are very, very germane. So to me, for people to have emerged to be members of the House, they would have known their profile. So what I'm saying here is that, and like I said initially when I started discussion, that's what is called equity of conscience, equity of everything that is embodied in APC. So to that, though that all these things are conventions, they are not written anywhere.
But part of the challenge is what you've just said. I take it totally that the party should know the kind of people it is bringing in, and they should know them better. Yeah. Sometimes there's a clash in the sense that which the party knows might not be what the people of the constituency either know or the way they see it. But let me quickly bring in Alaba from Sabo Oniba.
I would like to chip in.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yori. Chief Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I did forget. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
New elected member, good morning. But you didn't answer the question that Yori put to you straight. That will you allow your own salary or wages to be cut down? So I want that answer from you. I will say that, yeah, look, let Asiwaju Tinubu and General Muhammadu Buhari know that this ball is on their table. They are the only person, if they don't want APC to be like PDP, within 4 years, they should call all these guys. Look, all these candidates they sent to National Assembly governor, most of them are looking for what they will eat. If APC scatter today, you will find most of these people in other parties. So, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and Muhammadu Buhari should call all these guys to order that, look, we are here to serve Nigerians. We are here not to serve individuals. So I think with this, it will help APC to go, because Nigerians rely on them a lot. If they fuck up, Nigeria will treat their fuck up. Good morning.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I think my senior brother here and my senior colleague has answered the question. It's statutory. So if Nigerians wake up tomorrow and say the process of amending how much personal I earn, why I'm comfortable about that question. My going to politics is to serve my people.
Exactly.
Basically, it's basic. Like I said, I left my comfort zone to go back to the village. And like I said also, APC is a party that has internal democracy. The process of producing innocence started since March last year. Unlike PDP, the guy that I contested with suddenly showed up around August, September. So you see, we have a profile. There's a profile of every candidate. So we know whoever that is going to be the speaker, and the person must be loyal to the party and loyal to the Nigerian as an entity. So that tomorrow, he's not bought over. Like I have said before, PDP had problem, and I'm very happy somebody said it here. Because they didn't know the way they didn't get number one right. That was where they started having their problems. So a party supremacy plays an important role in democratic dispensation in Africa. Not if you are talking of the separation of power, if you are talking of rule of law, it's not here. We should talk something that is practical in Nigeria.
It seems to me that what people are saying, never mind that they might not be using those words, is that people who go to our assemblies, including the national, should be it should be from commitment, not that I'm looking for something to eat, as somebody put it. So it seems to me that what they're really saying is that the commitment to want to serve in the capacity that you have defined from the beginning, as the role of the National Assembly and assemblymen and women, the role that they have, people should just be have that only. But that's not the way it's going to be.
Yeah, my brother.
Was it? I think it's.
Okay.
Who's very briefly, please, because I've run out of time.
So
I want to hear from him as well. This commitment that people seem to think we don't get, because they're implying that we don't get commitment. They imply that when they say people are just looking for what to eat.
I think public service should be for your willingness to serve the people. And I think that the electorate should be able to, they know who wants to serve them, but there's this issue of stomach infrastructure, which we really don't have the time to get into. But that, let's put that aside, and that's definitely has a part to play in all of this whole thing. So let's look at APC, because there's a lot of focus on how the leadership
and APC, because you have just about 15 seconds more. So I'm afraid we can't look at APC.
Ultimately, I think we should trust the party leadership to be able to bring out leadership. I mean, the leaders of this party, speakers, the Senate president, and I think there's a template to, I mean, the past, we can definitely look forward that the best will happen.
Okay, Honorable SMA?
Yeah, I want to...
Closing words, very briefly.
Yeah,
please.
very briefly. But first, there's an impression I want to take off the minds of Mr. Kingsley, one of the callers.
Yes, who called him from...
yes, that the people who go to National Assembly and all that. I don't know his experience, but I am saying that SMA Eyibo, I'm coming from a society that is known for a long history of leadership recruitment. So I came from somewhere, and when I exit, I'm going somewhere. So it's not everybody who is going through that experience he's talking about. Then two, I expect APC, I expect government and Nigerians to begin to know that the difference between leadership and the led is a common issue of perception. Now, there has to be institutional integrity as a result of a proper leadership recruitment process. And in leadership recruitment process, you cannot take it away from the fact of the participation of the people as espoused by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 25. And the Constitution, our Constitution also emphasizes on it. So people should not behave as if it's Buhari and Oshibanjo who is going to bring us the El Dorado. No, that's not so. So we must be able to develop. Nigerians should now be able to appreciate Buhari by putting something on the table. What is this thing they're going to put on the table? Is the issue of ethical and attitudinal reorientation.
We're going to have to leave it there.
Yeah, we should create heroes and not champions.
Thank you very much, Honorable SMA Eyibo,
Thank you.
former member of the House of Representatives. And I also want to thank you, Mr. Tony Ashamu, politician and entrepreneur, and Barrister Innocent Egwim, you know, just waiting to take his position in the Imo State House of Assembly. I'm Yori Fulani. Bye-bye for now.